I finally watched X-Men First Class. It only took 9 years, but hey, better late than never. On YouTube, a bunch of creators are doing video essays called One X-Cellent Scene, being put on by Nando from Nando V Movies, but I wanted to make a video that is about one excellent scene, but it's not as excellent as it could be. And there are a few scenes like this in X-Men First Class. I really enjoyed the movie, but I wouldn't call it a perfect movie. I think that there were things that they could have done differently and better, and I think that this is something from which most blockbusters suffer. They try to throw too much in, and they don't give each moment enough time to really develop as its own story, because every element of a story is a story unto itself. And the way that I want to explore this is through the scenes where Magneto is looking for Klaus Schmidt, or Sebastian Shaw as he's now known. So let's get into it.
Buenas tardes, caballeros. Buenas tardes. Hello, no? Sí.
Una cerveza, por favor.
The thing that really gets me about this scene is that there's a freaking photograph of Schmidt with these two Nazis chilling with exactly the place that Eric has to go next. It's like, oh, so glad I found this bar in the middle of nowhere in Argentina with only these two Nazis in it, who happen to be best buddies with the guy that I'm looking for, and there's a photograph of them with him that says where the guy might be, where I should go look next. Really? Give me a break.
Deutsches Bier. Claro?
Claro? Of course. Really? Claro, como cuál tipo de cerveza tendríamos en un bar en Argentina? Deutsches Bier, obviamente. Cerveza de Alemania.
Ja, ist Bitburger. Schmeckt gut, ne? Das Beste.
There's a lot of good in this scene.
Was hat sie nach Argentinien verschlagen?
Ach, das Klima. Ich bin Schweinebauer.
It's the nuance and the interplay that make this tense.
Schneider. Schon seit meiner Kindheit. Mein Vater hat die schönsten Anzüge Düsseldorfs gemacht.
The music is amazing.
Meine Eltern kamen aus
It builds
Düsseldorf.
tension.
Ah,
Ja. Und wie ist der Name? Sie hatten keinen Namen.
Notice that unlike Eric and Charles, these two Dummköpfe are playing checkers instead of chess.
Ihr Name wurde ihnen weggenommen. Schweinebauern und Schneider.
I couldn't resist. I think the inspiration's fairly obvious. And it's a great scene to emulate. Would the guy be carrying it around with him when he's trying to be inconspicuous, presumably, and lie low, you know? I mean, he's in a freaking bar speaking German, drinking German beer, with a dagger that says blood and honor on it from his service in Hitler's Nazi apparatus, and there's a picture of him with the big bad who was, you know, evil Dr. Schmidt at Auschwitz, and it's like, okay, that's not lying low, dude.
Ja, was würden Sie gerne zuerst verlieren? Wir halten unsere Befehle. Also Blut.
Could he have a knife on him? Sure. Might he pull that knife on Eric when the moment arrives? Why not? But what he could do is maybe make the reference to blood and honor, Eric that is, make the reference to blood and honor and the dagger without it being on the dagger. So Hello Future Me is right on when he says that this is an excellent scene. Like I said, there's a lot of good here. But he's already stabbed the blonde guy once. Does he need to stab him again? And I address this in the edit.
Let's just say I'm Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, okay, sure, cool. I get it. Absolutely. Evil Dr. Schmidt created the monster. But I think it's a missed opportunity for the absolute best reply that a Jewish concentration camp survivor could have ever said to a Nazi. Imagine if the guy's like, "Wer bist du?" And he goes, "Der Übermensch."
I'm looking for my creator.
What don't I like about the scene? He goes to this place and he finds exactly the empty bar where these two Nazis are chilling alone, drinking German beer, being served to them by a Argentinian barkeep, keeps a Luger under the bar, you know? There's too many things here that are way too cute. And just too convenient. It's like, oh, what does the plot require? Let's put exactly those things here. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the movie, and I enjoyed this scene. I think that it could have been edited slightly differently, and I do that later. And you can skip ahead if you want to see what that recut scene looks like. But in addition to how I think the order of events could have gone differently, there is that issue of that things are a little too convenient. And it's important to recognize that all stories are contrivances, even stories based on reality, because memoir is fiction, and what we remember is not exactly what happened, it's our interpretation of what we experienced. So in a fiction where it is all made up, of course it's a contrivance. Of course everything is going to have to service the plot in some way. But the artfulness, it comes from making the obvious things that need to happen seem less obvious, seem more credible, that is believable. And so when something is incredible, and I don't mean, oh great, incredible, no, I mean it literally, not credible, cannot be believed. At this point, Eric probably understands that he can't be going around in public killing people with impunity. You know, there's probably still some semblance of, you know, I'm a private citizen and I need to keep a low profile. It's like, oh, all of the things that I mentioned about this scene, all of the things that are there for us that are just like, yep, we need to move the plot along, so here you go. We'll have these two Nazis chilling alone in a place where Eric can kill them anonymously and get away with it. Okay, great, sure, fine. Those things could have been done more artfully. So, he's going to want to kill these guys where he can do it reasonably privately. But what if they set it up so that he goes to, and not this place, Villa Gesell, because for one thing, they didn't use that in the location shot. Like, it's a beach town, And I just feel like it would be more interesting if it were, say, in like Buenos Aires, which is just much more visually interesting. And cities offer a certain amount of intrigue. We could have a couple scenes of him going around Buenos Aires, going into places looking for information, like a detective, because that's what he is. This is Eric Lensher, detective. We're following him on this case that he's trying to solve. And it would be really cool to see him at work looking for evidence, tracking this guy down, Klaus Schmidt, bit by bit, and finding out who some of his cronies are, finding maybe more than just 2 Nazis. Maybe he gets to go around being a little Nazi serial killer in Buenos Aires for a little while until he finally finds the information that he's looking for. And so I think it's a really compelling storyline for this Jewish person to be going around hunting Nazis. It's marvelous. And that in itself could be an entire movie. Wouldn't it be amazing to see Magneto going around the world hunting down Nazis? How can we set up better Magneto's global sojourn trying to track down this ex-Nazi scientist, Klaus Schmidt? So, when did he deposit this Nazi gold? How do we know that Schmidt had Nazi gold? And how does Eric know that Schmidt had Nazi gold? And would Schmidt have been going around being like, hey, I'm Klaus Schmidt, and you can find me in Argentina? You know, it's not like we don't know that Nazis went to Argentina. We're well aware of that. The number of people who saw consequences as a result of Nuremberg are far fewer than the number who escaped justice of any kind. So instead of the scene in the Swiss bank being Eric looking for information about Schmidt, why not just allow that scene, which is awesome and characterizes Eric, stand on its own as him just doing the due diligence of terrorizing a Swiss banker who he knows is complicit in stealing the gold of Jewish people? And that is valuable just in the sense of that it gives us a better sense of who Eric is. And then Eric could be like, Je sais que Klaus Schmidt est à Buenos Aires. Like, he knows where he is. Like, he's with all the other Nazis in Argentina. And so he's going there anyway. And that might be even better because he's not trying to torture this guy for information. He's torturing him as a matter of course, because the guy himself is a villain. Stories are so rich, and for instance, I wrote a novel that I published last year, and the link is available in the description, but there's a point at which you have to give something away. Like, you have to say that this is it, right? I've refined it to the point where it can stand and it is what it is. But where that point is not always that clear. And, you know, when I'm writing a novel in which, you know, perhaps not millions of people are interested, it's not the same situation as a blockbuster movie that's on a budget and a schedule, and it has to be released on a certain date in order to garner the requisite return on investment. So they're not commensurate, but the idea is still there that when you're making a story, there's a certain amount of work that needs to go into refining the story to the point where it is the best story that you can tell. You can go too far, but you can also go not far enough. You can leave it at the point where things are still too facile, where things are too convenient, where there's a little too much deus ex machina, there's a little too much of too cute and too convenient. And finding that sweet spot is challenging, and I think we can see that in art everywhere. And this movie's one of those cases. But enough about that. Let's look at the re-edited scene and you can tell me what you think.
Herz und Blut.
Was sind Sie?
Der Übermensch. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll click the like button and leave me a comment and subscribe, and I'll probably do a couple more of these. If I can get a couple video essays under my belt, maybe I can streamline the process and get a little better at it. I've really enjoyed making this, and I hope that you've enjoyed watching it. And if you're interested in supporting me, please click the Patreon link in the description and throw in a couple bucks, and you'll get more than just videos. But thank you, and see you next time. Klaus Schmidt.